moon. So there's a little bit of a misunderstanding in that we follow the narrative of the left and of the news media, like right there, the Daily Herald.
Yes.
You know, we have these Democrat-run newspapers that really miss the point, or really they purposely skew it with a Democratic narrative. Donald Trump knows what he's doing, and of course I support the president, but do I think that he means 100% of what he says? No, I do not. I think they're going to negotiate something, and I think we're going to be a lot better for it, just like always. Trump says something that sounds a little crazy, and then he goes into Venezuela, and 4 hours later, Maduro's in jail.
Yeah.
Greenland, when we look at the opportunity for Greenland, we see what's happening in the rest of Eastern Europe with China and our other adversaries who are buying their way into control of those countries. And when we look at the Greenland opportunity, we see it as where our goal, where our dome, where our protective dome that I have kids that are working on literally currently. And what we need to do is to make sure that our country is safe and we are America first. And so when I look at the Greenland opportunity, of course, I'm not at the table. I don't know all of the details, but what I see from an outsider's perspective looking in is that we have to recognize the threat that China and our other adversaries are and how Greenland plays into that. With the Greenland being as close as it is, it puts us in striking distance. And so we have to be very defensive in thinking about that opportunity. And so as we learn more and see how Donald Trump rolls this out, I think we will find out what the best solution is for America, and that's what we'll do. Thank you.
What role should Congress play in authorizing and overseeing foreign military engagement? And how would you ensure transparency and accountability when U.S. troops or resources are deployed overseas?
So having a grandson in the Navy, this is a very personal question to me because we need transparency in knowing what is going on and where our allies are. And so the United States has been taken advantage of for far too long. We have been funding the world and gutting our own country. And so when you think about on an airplane, they always tell the mother she has to take care of herself before she takes care of her children. And the reason that we have to do that is we have got to put America first. And so when I think about our military, peace through strength is 100% the way that we have to operate, because the bad guy isn't checking to see if it's legal, if it's right. He's not checking to see if everybody agrees with him. He's going to do what he's going to do in his best interest. And so we have to create the peace through strength by creating the best and strongest military, as we saw in Venezuela, to operate efficiently and execute transparently. Thank you.
So we agree, peace through strength, it's very important. The question was about transparency and how we engage our military in foreign lands and in other situations. And I will just tell you guys that Congress is as dirty as our state. Congress is a terrible place to try to keep a secret. Whether Democrats and Republicans, these guys are often professional career politicians. They're making money, they go in poor, they come out wealthy, and by working with Congress, I mean, that's like an oxymoron. What we have is a chance to elect a leader, to a commander-in-chief who can be America first and can take care of us and our children and our grandchildren. What we don't need is a bunch of Congress people who are there for life because of the way the system works to be privy to everything that we're doing ahead of time. I trust our leader, especially Donald Trump, to take care of business, which is what he's doing. Thank you.
All right, our next question focuses on the National Guard, and Mark, you're going to be asked the first question, and then you'll be asked the same question.
Okay, Mark. As a member of Congress, would you support federalizing National Guard troops to enforce federal immigration laws? And if so, isn't such action in direct violation of the Posse Comitatus Act?
I'm not a lawyer, but I don't think so in terms of the last part of your question. But to the first part of your question, 100% yes. I'm endorsed by Tom Homan. My last campaign, Tom and I were riding in the car from Springfield all the way to O'Hare, and Tom came up with my little slogan, which is bring back ICE, vote for Rice.
Yes.
We need immigration. We need ICE officers. And if they can't do their job, because Pritzker and Johnson should be in jail for impeding and inciting riots and inciting these idiots, because I go over there to Broadview, I try to stay out of the way, but I just want to show that we support the blue, that we support ICE, that we support law enforcement. And if the federal government can play a role to help, you know what I say? I don't say yes or no, I say thank you. So thank you very much.
Specifically, what I think is the most important thing when I get to Congress is enacting the Remain in Mexico Act. And what that will do is it will prevent states from being sanctuary states and sanctuary cities. And that mitigates so much of the problem. And it prevents needing to bring the National Guard in. However, our immigration laws need to be strong, they need to be protected, and they need to be unviolated. And so if we need the National Guard to support our immigration services, that's what we should do. And when I think about our law enforcement, having a son and a son-in-law who are both federal law enforcement officers, I take it very personally when I see what's going on with these ICE agents and the way that they are being treated doing their jobs. They are they are working tirelessly to make our country safe, and unfortunately, we don't hear about the things they prevented. We only hear about the things that happened. And so, when we think about the deployment of the National Guard, we should utilize them to keep our country safe and our states in line with the federal government. Thank you.
How can Congress better support the National Guard's readiness for natural disasters, civil unrest, and emergency response without overburdening Guard members and their families?
The National Guard's primary job is to protect our country. That is what they're there for. They're there for the natural disasters. They're there for the emergencies, and we have to enable them not with more money, but with better transparency and better leadership. And I think we've spent far too long letting politicians manage money ineffectively. And again, if they were running a business, they would all be fired and they would all be bankrupt. And so when we think about the National Guard and what they need to create, they need to create the outcomes and be held accountable to the outcomes that are required of them in the roles that they're in. Thank you.
How can Congress better support the National Guard's readiness for natural disasters, civil unrest, and emergency response without overburdening Guard members and their families?
So that's a great question. And, a lot of what's been going on in the past is that we've been using them to do all kinds of things that they have no business doing, to be babysitters for the illegals that are coming across, doing all kinds of things that they're not trained for and they're not meant to do. But even worse than that, is you talk about like FEMA and natural disasters, we don't have the money. Where'd the money go? I think most of you all know where it went. It mostly went to the drunk spenders in Congress who just print it and create the inflation that we pay for, but it also went to house, to give a cell phone, to have medical care, to have education, to do everything for the illegals, the 20 million illegals that were let across. So instead of spending money to fix our homeless who are in the street or our veterans who are living over off Roosevelt Road, we are helping illegals, many of which want to do us harm, and that needs to stop.
That's right.
Mark, do the conditions in Minneapolis, as they are today, support President Trump's imposition of the Insurrection Act?
Oh my goodness, what do you think I'm gonna say? I know you know. Hell yes! Are you kidding me? Like, are we living in some dystopian society? We all have eyes we can see, And like I said, I was with Nick Shirley just last week. And Nick Shirley, I know him from before as well. We need more Nick Shirleys to get out there and expose him. What in the world is a 24-year-old kid? I mean, he's a kid. He's a beautiful kid, too. He's very moral. He goes to church, and he's giving up his life. When I was with him last week, we had to get him extra security because he's uncovering all this fraud and waste and corruption, and we need to do more of that. The government is now, I think actually it's happening. We maybe aren't hearing about it because the liberal media doesn't want us to know about it, but we've got to get in there, and in a place like Minnesota, whatever it takes. But you know what? They need to come to Chicago next, because we've got more of it here, probably than anywhere, but these Democrats are covering it up because they're getting campaign donations to cover it up. Thank you.
When states like Minnesota have a governor and the city of Minneapolis have a mayor who are directly violating the federal law, we should absolutely bring the Insurrection Act and use that to put that state in line. And I believe that the state of Minnesota is no different than the state of Illinois. It is a tiny bit blue and it is mostly red. And that state, those citizens, the quiet majority, just like the state of Illinois, are begging for help. They are begging to take back over their state. And what we have seen in the amount of corruption that was uncovered by a simple kid with a camera, that tells us how widespread and how corrupt places like Minnesota and probably Chicago are. So when we think about the Insurrection Act is designed to keep our country together. It's designed to keep our country safe, and it's designed to protect our citizens when the mayor, the local government, and the state representatives are not. Thank you.
We're going to talk about immigration. The numbers came out today, and this was confirmed by Newsmax and Fox News. This is not fake news. In his first year in office for a second term, President Trump deported 540,000. Only 40,000 of those self-deported. As supposedly we kept hearing there was 1 million, 2 million that self-deported. The real number is 40,000. So how do you think President Trump is handling the immigration issue, and are you surprised by these numbers?
Am I surprised by the numbers? I am not. I think that 540,000 people, when we think about what happened during COVID, during the Biden administration, the state of Illinois brought in over 800,000 illegal aliens. And they were replacing the 800,000 citizens who left our state during COVID to escape. They were evicted. They were evicted by crime, by taxes, and by government overreach. And so when I think about the 40,000 that self-deported, what I would like to have seen is more transparency on what their opportunity is to come back, because I think it would have motivated more to self-deport. But regardless, if we've got almost 600,000 of those people have left our country, they can come back legally and properly, just like we did with the dozens of Americans that came in with us. Thank you.
So I'm a little surprised by those numbers, but I'll tell you what, the 40,000 that left, don't let the door hit you in the butt on your way out. The 500,000 or more that we forced to leave, I don't have the exact numbers, but I can tell you that of the illegals that came across, over 30,000 of them were convicted of sex crimes in their own countries. Over 20,000 were convicted of murder. So the faster we get rid of the criminal element, especially, the better. And you know what? 500,000 criminals that we have gotten out of this country, that's great. And it's great for Chicago, it's great for Schaumburg, it's great for the 8th District, it's great for the country. And we need to do more of it. And I think, and look at the hard time he's getting. What you didn't say, Amy, is those numbers actually, I think, are less than Obama. Isn't that crazy? And we're saying that Trump is a great, all these terrible things about Trump. He's doing the best he can under the circumstances. Now they have more money. I think they're going to accelerate it and get rid of even more of these bad apples, and that's going to be great for all of us.
So let's go to Mark first. How do you balance border security and the rule of law with the economic and human impact on working individuals and families